Ex-boyfriend was a pedophile and I was responsible for his arrest. AMA. I never talked about this before, not even to my family, so I just needed to let this out after so many years. I'm feeling specially depressed about this today. I dated him since I was 20 for a little over 3 years. We were the same age and had a normal relationship. Not many things could have made me suspicious back then. I really loved him, which makes it all worse. When we broke up, he moved out and I kept our computer. Once I accidentally formatted the disk instead of clicking copy and it deleted everything. I called a friend, thank God, who was computer savvy to recover my files with a software, and he recovered any permanently deleted file as far as he could. When I looked through the files to look for my stuff, I also found things my ex had deleted. Child pornography. I was so shocked. I cried all day. I looked at it a lot, hoping it was just legal age teenagers, or some weird role-playing stuff. I even told myself since we were a bit kinky it was probably something fake from a weird website. I was in denial for weeks. I eventually decided to call the cops because I couldn't live with it anymore, and no matter how much I looked at it, they were clearly children. There was no excuse. The investigation took a while, but they eventually found more child pornography on his own computer. He was arrested. Wow, I can't even imagine going through this type of situation. I salute to you for being super brave about coming forward. How old do you think the victims are? Was he ever protective of that computer? Did he do anything that raised some eyebrows when you both were together? Thank you. Well, not really, but he downloaded so many cracked games, and used so much weird software, I always figured it might have been hidden in of those things. He had folders within folders of random files, so I was never really curious or suspicious. I just assumed it was game files. He also knew I only used the computer to write or watch YouTube. I only bumped into it because with the recovery, files were all randomly placed, so I had to look for my stuff for a really long time. Some were teens, which I told myself they could be really young-looking 18-year-olds, but some were really children. That's when I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I heard their estimated ages in court and it was sickening. He was super normal, and he was average-looking, nice and kind, which is really upsetting, not the image one portrays about pedophiles. The only suspicious behavior I can think of is that I look way younger than my age. I was actually bullied for looking like a kid up until my 20s, and then he dated another very young-looking girl. And sexually he was a bit weird. But I never thought of it when we were together. I even visited him in prison, and he never seemed any different to me. It's really disturbing. Do you still have feelings for him? Or does it go away as soon as something that serious happens? I read you visited him for answers. Was it hard to talk to him after? Weren't you afraid of his reaction? I mean, seems like you put him behind bars. Congratulations on your courage, by the way. Thank you. I do. It's really disturbing and I feel really guilty sometimes, but I always loved him. Even when we broke up, it was just about having different life goals. We never hurt each other. I wish it did go away. I suspect if he had raped a child, I could never feel like this. What he did is still unforgivable in my eyes, but I can't help it. It was very hard to talk to him again, but strangely he didn't resent me. He always seemed to regret it and was very disturbed by his own feelings towards children. We talked about it a few times I visited him. I needed to understand. I've been doing a lot of research on pedophilia since this happened, and donate to research. I also managed to convince him to donate quite a bit to child abuse victims. So I think overall those visits didn't harm. Good for you. You did the right thing by going to the police. Thank you. Which country do you live? How much time will he be in prison? I don't wanna say my country because it's really small and any case of this sort always shows up in the news. But I'm from Europe and he got 3 years, could have gotten more if he uploaded or distributed himself, which he didn't do. I just had my first wet dream in like 34 years. AMA. What was the dream? I cheated on my wife with a black lady. Don't even ask me how this dream came, I never thought about it in real life. How old are you? 28. Are you taking anything that might elevate your testosterone levels? No, just no sex or nut for a while now due to quarantine boredom. Did you clean your bed sheets yet? I was wearing boxers, shirt and a onesie. It's freaking cold, it even snowed today, so my clothes soaked it all up. I had liver cancer at age 9 and am now 13. AMA. This is my first post on this subreddit, thought I would say that in advance. Alright, here we go. I was diagnosed with undifferentiated embryonal sarcoma of the liver, simply a type of liver cancer. I stayed in Texas Children's Hospital in Houston, Texas for over 100 days. Shout out to all the amazing medical staff. I had 6 long rounds of chemotherapy. I hope this post can help people understand that sometimes tragedies appear when you least expect it, and not everyone that gets cancer has an underlying medical condition or is incredibly old. AMA. Do you consider your childhood until now to have been happy in spite of all the treatment and pain you went through? Do you suffer of some kind of trauma for having been through so much? I'm glad you are here to answer us and that your medical team was amazing. I wish you many, many years of the best health and happiness. My early childhood was pleasant until all of this unfolded, and now that this has all subsided, I'm still living my best life as a happy 13-year-old. Of course, the battle with cancer significantly changed the course of my life and my childhood in many ways, but I don't feel like all the pain and trauma has ruined my childhood as a whole. My early childhood was pleasant until all of this unfolded, and now that this has all subsided, I'm still living my best life as a happy 13-year-old. Of course, the battle with cancer significantly changed the course of my life and my childhood in many ways, but I don't feel like all the pain and trauma has ruined my childhood as a whole. Trauma has always been a problem for me. Just last night I had a dream I was in the hospital and that I was getting blood drawn through my port, a device inserted just below the skin for minor surgeries or blood samples among other things, as I usually did during that time. It was horrible, and I pray that those memories will subside eventually. I have a horrible fear of needles from all of the blood draws and shots I had to endure, as most cancer patients do, and have had my stomach muscles cut during surgery, so I cannot do sit-ups or any other core activities, which really bother me because I am a huge soccer fan and consider myself an athlete. Thank you so much for your question, and I hope that you stay safe during this pandemic. Thank you for answering. I hope your muscles will get better and you will be able to play and do sports soon. My grandpa had his stomach muscles cut as well back in the 90s for a cancer. They had to remove his whole stomach, but he totally recovered from that, and before other stuff happened recently could do heavy work and play with us as nothing. Thank you, smiley face. What did you do while in the hospital? I get bored easily, so I'm curious on what I would do. I was one of the kids who voiced the famous recording of the kids cheering .af sound effect, which was later popularized through the rise of iMovie, AMA. I've heard that sound in so many educational games, videos and memes. As far as I could tell, it's an old sound effect. Nice to be talking with a celebrity here. Occasionally, it catches me off guard, and for a second I'm back in the studio in Palo Alto. You should get the gang together and make an adult cheering one. If only I could track them down. When you listen to the recording, have you ever been able to pick out the sound of your own voice among the other kids cheering? Surprisingly, yes, though there is a chance I could be imagining it. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. I seem to remember I was one of the last to come off, so I always listen out for that. Isn't that in a Logic song as well? This one. That's the one. I was aware of this but curious if anyone would make the
Believing in me and giving me this chance.
Subscribe.
He said it.